Hello and welcome to another edition of Diaspora Weekly. I know today is Thursday and due to the lockdown, we're having to do things differently. I know you always see us on Saturday. Today I have two Emmanuels from both sides of the Atlantic, one in Toronto, Canada, and the other one in London, UK. But as usual, before we get to them, we have to do the jangle. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah. This is Diaspora Weekly. Let's go to the jangle. Today I'm excited about what I'm about to present to you on the jangle. So in today's jangle, I want to show you something, okay? This coronavirus that came, it has woken Africans up to some realities that we had been blind to for a long time. I want you to look at the screen and look at this. When you go to Google, look at what you find. Okay? When you type in mask protection efficiency, okay? You can do this at home. Go to Google, type in mask protection efficiency. What do you see? On this, you see a whole bunch of images that someone has craftily sat in his home or office and put together to throw dust on our eyes. And you know what? We believe it. We pick these things up and we run with it. Let me show you one in particular where it says that the mask, the N95, it protects you against viruses 95%, all right? Surgical mask, they've put some numbers there. But when you look down there where it says cloth mask, right? It tells you that the virus protection is 0. You know, when someone first put this on the platform that I'm on, I took him on and I said, look, it is not enough to just put some images out there, to put some numbers out. Show me rather than tell me. And you know what? As if some people were listening to me. Now watch this video.
Hello, everyone. We want to test the effectiveness of the masks that we have in this. Okay, so we are going to introduce a flame. And if she's able to blow out the flame, then that means the protection is not optimal. This is the N95. Okay, as you can see, she's blowing and it's not working. So the N95 is working very well. This is a common surgical mask. You see, it just went off just like that. So absolutely no protection. So you have to check which type. This is the other one. That one to no protection. So this is surgical mask.
With the double layer. So put the second layer on.
With the double layer. So let's try and see. Low. Okay, wow. No protection. So this is the one that was manufactured at Ridge. This is the cloth with the stiffener in between. It works almost as well as the N95. Okay. And this is N95. Tell your might. Okay.
So now you see what I mean by don't just tell me, show me. Now, interestingly enough, when you Google, today we've been trained to find all our information from Google. When you go to Google, you type in mask protection efficiency and you see junk. And we go there, we take this information and we're running with it, say, oh, the ones we produce in Ghana is no good. The one they produce over there, it protects us better. And what do we do as a result? We take all our money and buy theirs and ignore the ones that we produce here in Ghana to keep our money at home. we junk them because somebody put something on Google saying that ours is not good enough. How long have they been doing this? Now, I don't know some of the other ones that are produced here. So I'm just going to give you, if you don't have a flame, I'll give you a very simple test. You see this mask? This one was made by Creation Tenny and Classic Judy. It's double-sided, okay? When you put it on, you can test it yourself. If you have a mask on right now, you don't need a flame. You can just put your hand here and blow. You see, with this, I don't feel the air. I don't feel it. So if you're wearing a mask and you blow and you feel it, it's stand to reason that when you blow, it'll kill out the flame. So you don't need a flame. You can just do this as your own test. And that's how you test which one protects you more. Now, mathematically, we know the size of the virus is, they say 200 to 600 something, something, something. Now, you have to convince me that the holes in this cloth are wider than the size of the virus. And so far, that has not been proven. So I want you, if you're watching us, look at the materials we produce here in Ghana. Some are great, some not so great. But in this case, the mask, the cloth mask that we're producing in Ghana will protect us against the virus. It's been proven that the information on Google is junk, but the information that you saw from those brilliant ladies in that video just tells you graphically that the cloth mask protects you better than the junk that they sell us. This is the jungle. And before you go, remember, DNT, what is our program again? Our promotion again? Mask up. If you're stepping out of your house, mask up. And that's the jungle. We'll be right back.
Expecting money from your relations abroad. Have you ever been defrauded of your money remittance? Open an ADB account today. Send your name and your account number to your relations abroad. Ask them to use MoneyGram direct to account service and receive your money in your account in minutes. With MoneyGram direct to account service, there's no PIN code wahala. You can now access your money on all ATMs in Ghana or send it to any mobile money wallet using ADB mobile banking app or shortcode *767#. Visit our branches nationwide to conveniently receive your Western Union, MoneyGram, RIA, Unitylink, Transfast, and Express Money Transfers. Reach us on our Facebook, website, or call our hotline on 0302 210 210 for more information. ADB, truly agri and more.
We're happy to have with us Emmanuel Diodu from Canada. Which city are you speaking to us from, please?
I'm in Toronto, Canada.
All right, you're in Toronto. Okay. All right. Why don't you state your name and your credentials for us? In what capacity are you speaking with us?
Anyway, my name is Emmanuel Diodu. I'm the president of the Ghanaian Canadian Association of Ontario, otherwise called Ghana Union, so which is an umbrella organization for Ghanaians here in Toronto.
Oh, okay. So this is Ontario. So you don't speak for Quebecois or British Columbia or any of those guys, right?
We are strictly Ontario, but we do work with everyone anyway. So some of the issues are across the board anyway. Whatever happens in Toronto, likely similar things should be happening across the country, really.
Good. Very good. All right, Toronto. So first of all, welcome and thank you for giving us the time, making time to speak with DNT. Why don't you tell us about Toronto? We hear a lot about the Ghanaian community in Toronto. What's it like? The size of the community? What's the makeup of it?
Yeah, the Ghanaian community in Toronto is a vibrant one. I can tell you that because, Toronto is the hub as far as Ghanaians in Canada is concerned. I can say with confidence that the population in Toronto likely is about, 60% of Ghanaians who live in Canada. So that means that we have a lot of, Ghanaians who reside over here in this part of the country, Canada. It cut across all demographics, whether doctors, lawyers, teachers, and all professions. So we have everyone in Toronto. So it's a very big one and vibrant and growing. It keeps growing.
Okay, very good. I've been fortunate enough to be in your city, and I remember when we came there, we went to a party, and it was a very, very well attended party. And so I was shocked. I'm like, you guys have that many Ghanaians here? They said, oh, there are about 5 parties like this in town. I'm like, how many Ghanaians are in Toronto? An estimate.
Yeah. And that's a good point. The city of Toronto at weekends, you can have about 10 parties with thousands of people, funerals, birthdays, weddings. So sometimes when you go to one party, you wonder, is that all Ghanaians? Then you realize there are similar sizes of parties happening in the whole city. So this is a huge, convergence of outside Ghana who live in this part of the world. And really because of, we have I think we're doing very well over here from the standpoint of assimilation and adapting to the community. So it's what makes this place very vibrant, really.
Okay. Have you guys made an effort to put a number to the number of Ghanaians, basically an estimate that live in Toronto?
Yeah. Very good question. I think, for us, our estimate in Ontario here, we think we've done some preliminary research, and we're still working on it. We think that Ghanaians in Ontario, Toronto, for that matter, will be some in the neighborhood of about 50 to 60,000. So just that, and that likely will be a conservative number. So we could be more than that, really. Okay.
Did you say 15 to 16 or 50 to 60?
No, I mean 50, 50. Talking about 50,000 or 60,000. Yeah.
Is that counting your second and third generation or just Ghanaian nationals, Ghanaian born nationals?
Right. And I think it's the first, second, and third. But that's what I mean, that this is a conservative figure. We could be more than that. We are working on it. Okay. We have a project to, get to the point where we'll be able to know the definitive number of Ghanaians who live in this part of the world. But we will get to it very soon. Okay. But we do believe strongly that we are about 60%, 60,000 as far as the numbers we have now, but it could be more than.
Okay, when you introduced yourself, you mentioned that your organization is an umbrella one. So how are you organized? What does the umbrella look like?
Yeah, the umbrella, what I mean by that is that the Canadian Association of Ontario, or otherwise called Ghana Union, is made up of all the Ghanaian churches over here. Made Ghanaian associations. So what I mean by Ghanaian associations, somebody comes from, let's say, Ashanti region. There is an Ashanti organization here, or Ashanti. Our Fenso Bekwai, we have the Ghana Dangwe, we have the Fancy Mine, we have for the Northern Ghana, all of them coming together. And the churches, whether it's Pentecost, Presby, Methodist, etc., all of them coming together to form what we call the Ghana Union. So that is what I mean by umbrella organization.
Okay, and talking about church, I heard you guys got quite a number of them in Toronto.
That's very true. Toronto is we have a lot of churches. In fact, the last I counted, we were about 45 Ghanaian churches. So we have Ghanaian over here. Any church that is in Ghana is replicated in Toronto. I can tell you that. So. You have Methodist, Ghana Methodist. You have Ghana Presby. You have Ghana SDA. You have Ghana, all of them. Ghana Pentecost. So many of them over here.
45 Ghanaian churches. What about traditions? Folks in Ghana, I'm sure they have a pretty good idea how we live in Ghana. But tell me, how traditional do you guys get in terms of you know, kings and queens and all those things. How really traditional do you get in Toronto?
Oh, trust me, we are very much into that. We have that Santimai chief over here who really represent our Santine over here in Toronto. We do have chiefs who are chiefs in Ghana and also reside over here. Then we also have chiefs from the north. We have chiefs from Brongahafo. So, and we have queen mothers as well. So every year we have festivals where we showcase our culture, you know, and make lose track on our traditions and culture in Toronto. So we have the chiefs, we have the queen mothers, we have all the sub chiefs, and trust me, we always make sure that in fact we all these traditions blossoming, and we want to make sure that we don't lose all these wonderful traditions we brought from Ghana, that our children can learn from them.
Talking about children, do you have children, second generation, who dance Adwa and all those traditional stuff?
Oh yeah, we do have first, second generations here. And they all participate in some of the things I'm talking about. You know, our young people over here, they feel very proud to identify themselves with the Ghanaian. They are from Ghana. And that is very refreshing for us. Yes.
All right.
So that's amazing.
All right. You know about the famous Chicago Ghana Fest, right?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
There is Ghana Fest
in Chicago. Do you have a similar event in Toronto?
We have one here we call Ghana Fest, and it's evolving, you know. And aside of that, there are other things we do during the summer, where sometimes we have all Ghanaian communities coming together in a picnic and showcasing who we are as Ghanaians. So we have the Ghana Fest, then we have all picnics where Ghanaians get together, playing all traditional games. And also we have the churches also have something they call, you know, Culture Day. And normally most of the churches will feature chiefs and queen mothers, just to make sure that we can also showcase our culture in the churches as well. So yeah, so there are different various ways we normally showcase this culture in Canada.
Okay, what's the dominant profession of Ghanaians in Toronto area?
I think that is a very good question. I think that I would say that it cut across, it spans. You know, we have Ghanaian nurses, we have Ghanaian doctors, we have Ghanaian lawyers, we have Ghanaian teachers, we have even generally Ghanaian nurses, you know, in the healthcare sector. And then we also have some who are in the manufacturing sector. So really, and we also have some who are bankers, you know, those who do banking like myself. So there are people, it cuts across different professions. And in fact, when you look at the second and third generations, they also getting into other professions as well, like IT, you know, information technology. Some of them are doing, you know, some things like environmental stuff. So there are different things evolving in our community that cut across different professions. So I wouldn't say there is anything that is so dominant, but I think we spread across. That's what is happening in our community.
Okay. And your relation with the larger society, any type of discrimination or negative treatment of Ghanaians or Africans?
I think in Toronto or Canada, for that matter, I would say that we get over here very well. I wouldn't say that there are instances of racism, just like every community or every place. There might be some, you know, few things that will read heard as far as racism is concerned. But I would say that, you know, from what I've observed and from my experience, I think we, comparative to other places, you know, Canada is good. That's what I mean in terms of racial harmony. And you know, I wouldn't say that we are there 100%. There are exceptions to that, but I think we do adapt. We are all getting along very well. Of course, there are instances where people will encounter some of these, you know, racial undertones, but it's not a norm as far as Canada is concerned.
Okay, what about your relation with the other African community?
Yeah, we do get along very well. I think there are other, Africans here, Somalians, Ethiopians, Nigerians, and there are others. Sometimes when they have events, they do invite us. We do invite each other to different events as far as the bigger African community is concerned. So yeah, I would say that we do get along very well for the fact that we all come from the same continent, really. So from that standpoint, I think we're all good. No worries at all.
And relations with the city, local authorities or the government. I know your Prime Minister Trudeau can be a very nice guy, very open and liberal, right? What's your relation with the local authority or the central government?
Yeah, I think for us, as I mentioned earlier on, we do get along with the municipal, provincial, or the federal level. So there are sometimes events happening, where we normally get invited to them. And we also invite federal officials to our events. Even when we are having Ghanaian events, we do invite government officials, whether municipal, provincial, or federal level, and they do attend. So relationship with our community and all different levels of government have been cordial. We do work with them, collaborate and see how we can bring, good things to our community. Our goal is to work with all levels of government to make sure that we can help our people in this part of the world.
Very good. Now let's talk about COVID-19. That's what the whole world is grappling with right now. What is the situation in Toronto area within the Ghanaian community?
Yeah, I think in Toronto, the last I checked this morning, I think, it's ramping up. What I mean is that, the numbers are going up. We haven't started leveling up yet. Just like what is happening in UK, United States, and other countries. At this point, I would say that the numbers are much lower than what is happening in US proportionately, and maybe Italy. But we also the same concerns because this is evolving, really. So I think there is a big campaign to ensure that we adhere to all the basic, proactive measures to make sure that we are covered. In fact, myself as the president of the Ghanaian community, I started doing audio messages since January, where I was telling our people to exercise this physical and social distance. We Ghanaians, we are very sociable people. When you look at us, we like to congregate. We like to have camaraderie. We like to party. We are people who are nice. We are open. We are from a continent which is warm. So when we come here, we also try to make sure we are together. And that is a shift for us. But we started warning everyone that we needed to scale those things down. At the moment, as you likely aware, or maybe probably aware, we also make sure that our churches have all been put on hold. Association meetings, so everything now is virtual. So we started doing that quite a while back, really. So because this coronavirus called COVID-19 is really, it doesn't discriminate, as many leaders have, talk about it. So really, nobody's immune, So we want people to take it seriously and be proactive.
Do you know Canada now has 20,703 cases with 504 deaths. Now, that number may sound low compared to other countries, but Canada's population is generally very low. So in terms of relativity, Canada's numbers are high. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, and I agree. It's not that low because Canada is about 35 million people. So when you look at it, relatively, it's not that low to some other country like Czech Republic. But with UK, when you look at it from the relative standpoint, I think we are out there. With the US is more, But I think Canada is also a place people travel a lot. When you look at Canadians go on cruises and the diaspora community here too is big. So there is a lot of Ghanaians or maybe Canadians who move around. So we're not surprised about these numbers because of the fact that Canadians are people who travel a lot back and forth. There is inter relationship all over the world. But I think I'm hoping that, with the measures put in place, things should start, leveling up. That's our hope. Sometime in May or June, then at least things will start leveling up a little bit. We're just praying and hoping that will happen sooner, really.
So what is Canada doing? When you look at the makeup of right now, New York is the epicenter of this virus. And there are similarities between New York and Canada, Toronto, in that in New York, there's a lot of people who live very close together. And in addition to that, the weather in New York is cold. These two scenarios play out in Toronto. So what is Toronto doing that the numbers are not as high as in New York?
I think, as I said, I think our government was reacted quicker. That's what I would say. And they made sure that everyone knew that this was a serious business. It was serious. You have to take it seriously. So there were no mincing words at all from the local, municipal, provincial, and federal level. So that information got out quickly. That, you know what, guys, let's start very soon to make sure that we can take these measures. And I know that that really has helped a little bit, but we are not out of the woods yet. Really, and like you said, when you look at Toronto, we are not dense as New York, especially populated. It's a big land, but, a lot of houses rather than apartments. That's the difference too, really.
Okay. All right. Okay, so do you know of any Ghanaian community cases, either recorded case or even deaths?
Knock on wood, at the moment, and I'm just saying knock on wood, so far, we haven't heard of any Ghanaian who is sick, from the virus or has passed on. We are praying and hoping that it will stay that way, but so far we haven't heard that, really.
Now, I would say this. There are, as I speak to leaders of Ghanaian communities around the world, they all say that there are no known cases until you see that somebody has passed on. Is there a case where when people get it, they feel that they don't want to tell anybody, they keep it to themselves until when they pass out, when they pass on, then they can't keep it to themselves anymore? Do you think your community is such that people might be having this thing, but they're not telling anybody?
I hope it's not the case. We've been very aggressive, from the leadership standpoint, letting everyone know, please don't congregate, don't do this. And I think that with what is happening with this virus, when it's severe and acute, it is very difficult to hide it. When you look at the symptoms, there is no way a family will keep that person at home. The other thing too is that the province has ramped up testing, which means that they want to continue to test or increment the testing, maybe to threefold, and that will bring some of these things into focus. If anyone is there, have the symptoms, then at least to show up. And one thing too we've also noticed about this virus is that some people likely have it and they don't show any symptoms at all. So that is one of the nuances of this virus. There are some who have it, they have underlying conditions or some genetic kind of formation. It does reflect itself in severe repercussions. So it has different flavors. Like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if someone is not showing symptoms and it's a Ghanaian. But so far we haven't heard from anyone. But I believe that if it is a very severe case, I strongly believe that people will go to the hospital and that will come to the forefront in a way.
Okay. Any lockdown, either local or national?
Yeah, I think literally Canada is locked down. That's what I would say, because everybody is asked to stay home. Everyone, from coast to coast. There is no exception. The whole 35, 37 million Canadians have been asked to stay home. There are only exceptions, essential services.
How strictly is that being enforced, though?
Oh, it's very, very strict because there are fines, when you are caught in some areas, $7,000. So there are police officers in town making sure that this is not happening. So it's being really enforced in Canada here, really.
Okay. Now let's talk about Canadian healthcare system. I know that you have a single payer system. And, there are some in the United States who always point to Canada that, hey, you have to wait a long time just to see a specialist. Tell us how Canada's healthcare is handling this COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah. You're right. In Canada over here, I would say that we have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. And those who talk about wait times, trust me, if you need help, you can get it now. I know that there are certain things that wait, and it doesn't mean that nobody's going to deny access simply because of their social status or because of their income or because of the demographics. So that one we are very proud of it, and we are very fortunate to have. With that, that prevents a lot of sicknesses. So because anyone can go to any doctor, you can go to any hospital, you can go to any emergency. So to me, I think we are very proud of the healthcare system we have over here. There are other countries who claim that they have the best, but the only thing is that it's not universally accessible. So when you compare, which one do you choose? Do you want to be in a situation where your wife has a kid and he stays 4 days more than what the insurance company can pay? Then you are not in debt for about $200,000. And sometimes people even get bankrupt after having children. It's not a system we have over here. So I'm very proud of the healthcare system we have in Canada here, really, as compared to other countries.
Right. We just got information from Italy that as many as 105 doctors have died from this coronavirus, which suggests that in their effort in treating people, they themselves weren't very protected. How do you have the same situation in Canada, or the protective equipments are pretty much in order as far as frontline workers are concerned?
Yeah, I think yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, I heard some nurses have tested positive. Really, I haven't heard of a death yet, but I heard some nurses were tested positive. And as you maybe probably are aware, this thing is evolving, and sometimes we don't even know how people really. So people are trying. Our frontline worker, who we really commend for being so brave and doing what they're doing for us. But I can only imagine, how to be at the front line. But so far I haven't heard of any death, but I do know that some of our healthcare workers have been tested positive, and we're hoping and praying that they will have a full recovery.
How is Ghana's mission in Ottawa working with you, the leadership in Canada?
Yeah, we are in contact with the mission and, of course, the consulate over here. We have a consulate here in Toronto. So we are very, very proud of that we have a consulate here in Toronto. And we also have the mission in Ottawa. So we work with them. I think recently there was some a COVID-19 trust fund that was launched by the president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo. I think we working with the mission over here to see how whatever we can do as Ghanaians in diaspora, whether we can also contribute to alleviate the suffering of our people in Ghana. So we're asking everyone to contribute to that fund, and we're working with a mission here to make sure that everyone will do their piece. To me, these are interesting times, and when we know the staggering number of people who are impacted in the developed world, we pray and hope that it doesn't scale up as far as even our country, Ghana, which we love so much, and Africa for that matter. We don't have the infrastructure as the developed world, and that's why we're also trying to do our piece and to make sure that whatever we can do to make sure that we can support what the president and the government is doing in Ghana to make sure that our people be protected. All of us have families over there. We have aunties, uncles, mothers, grandparents. So we are organically linked with what is happening in Ghana. Always in tune to see what is happening in Ghana. When we look at the pictures, we always, oh my, what can we do to help? Really. So yeah, so we're working with the mission here to make sure we can do our piece as well.
So is there a concerted effort? Because the reason why I ask is, yes, there's a fund here in Ghana, but like United States, the ambassador has launched a campaign where they'll collect it in a pot before they bring it. In Belgium, they're doing the same thing in Germany and UK. Is there a pot in Canada that you guys are contributing into so that you bring that pot to the fund in Ghana? Or people,
yeah,
is that the case, or people are contributing directly?
What we're doing is that we're coming together. We had in fact, we have a platform with the Ghana High Commissioner and all the leaders in the country. We all say, you know what, this is something we need to do. So we are all collaborating and pulling all our resources. The money will be put in one pot and sent to be part of the trust fund. That's what we're doing. So it's similar to what you get defined in the US, Belgium, Holland, and wherever they are. Everyone just to make sure we can, work together, contribute together, and send that money, whatever we get, and send it to Ghana. That's what we're doing.
Okay, so now people in Ghana, I know our numbers. I think the last number I heard was 313, which is nowhere close to the numbers in the developed world. So if I live in Ghana and I have a relative in Toronto or any part of Canada, what can you tell me to assure me not to worry that everything is fine in Toronto or anywhere in Canada?
Yeah, I think to me, what I can say at this point is that, there is a saying that this virus has legs. Movement you make out of your house, you are making the virus to travel. So this said, so long as we obey the basic, principles have been laid out, washing your hands, social and physical distancing, ensuring that you don't go out, then we are protected. That's what it is. And that's what we're telling our people. My mom called and worries me. And so what's going on? I learned that you guys don't have food. We do have food. I want people to know. We can go and do grocery, but we demonstrate those, physical and social distancing, making sure we wash our hands. Number 2, we're also at home. So which means that we're not going anywhere. Myself, I'm working from home. So at this point, so long as we do all those things, then we are protected. And I think we've already been able to educate our people, sensitize them, making sure that they can take all these proactive measures. So those who are in Ghana, I want to assure you that your children, your grandchildren, your uncles, your relatives in Canada here are safe from the standpoint that we have whatever we need to stay at home. And we have one of the best care health systems to also protect us. And we do have a Ghanaian community that here, which is, that is looking out for each other. So when we combine all this support, we have an assurance that we'll be able to go through this together and come out with, out of this virus stronger. So we know that it is difficult now, but we know that we are planning what is next after the pandemic. How is the world going to look like? And we are very optimistic that things will work out.
Good. Now I'm going to appoint you as Professor Emmanuel Diodu. So now you're a professor. You mentioned that Prime Minister Trudeau was very proactive. I want you to grade him on a percentage basis. What grade would you give him the way he has handled the coronavirus pandemic?
I personally, and again, I have to rate him based on number 1, the proactive measure. Number 2, the interventions. Number 3, communication. And number 4, the steadiness and assurance to the country. If I look at these 4 factors, I'll give him A.
You give him what?
Because he's done well. A, I mean, A
80%?
I'm just rating him as he's done yes, I'll say he's done exceptionally well, considering all the circumstances. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Now I want you to grade Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in Ghana, how he has handled the situation in Ghana.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not in Ghana, but the good news is I'm following these news with keen interest. I listened to his speeches, I've listened to all the interventions, I've listened to the messages. And number one, on communication. Number two, right on point as far as the communication is concerned. Number three, assuring the nation. Number four, bringing the country together. Number five, also ensuring that everyone knows that this is not something that we're immune. Making sure that he's highlighted all these things. I would say that the president has done very well, really, considering all these things, because this wasn't part of his plan for 2020 at all. And when you look, with all the infrastructure we have, the communication and everything, and so I think the president of Ghana, Addo Akufo-Addo, has done exceptionally well. Some of his statements have been quoted even in the Western press, where he said that we can bring the economy back, but we can't bring the people back. That has been, it's a very powerful statement. And in fact, I heard it being quoted all over the world in Twitter. So to me, I think I will grade him as that he's done very well, really. And we wish him the best, because if he is successful, then we are successful. This is a time we all can come together as Ghanaians, wherever we are, whether in diaspora or whether in Ghana, to make sure he succeeds. Because when he succeeds, I can sleep well, that my mom, my uncles, my nephews who are in Ghana will be well. So I wish him well, really. Trust me, I pray for him that he will be successful.
Your professor, I asked you a grade and you gave me an essay. So finally, what's the grade?
Now you're calling me a professor. I'm not a professor, but but I know that the
I'm
grade I'll give him,
professor.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'll give him A too. I'll give him A like Trudeau. I give the president A for what he's doing. In fact, he has a more how do I put it, daunting task. But I think based on what he's done, rallying the country and all the communication, I'm always how do I put it? I'm impressed with the way he has been able to communicate the seriousness of the issue and what he's doing. I'm impressed with that. So I'll give him A.
Okay, very good. I want to shift the conversation to ROPA, right? About a couple of weeks ago, we received information that the Electoral Commission has submitted the constitutional instrument, the CI, to the Attorney General for her comments. After that, when she returns it to the Electoral Commission, then they will formally present it to Parliament. And once it's in Parliament, 21 days afterwards, if the Parliament doesn't stop it, then the constitutional instrument becomes law, which would be the implementation guide for the implementation of ROPA worldwide. Based on your knowledge of how the Ghanaian community is organized in Toronto and in the rest of Canada, how do you see ROPA being implemented in Canada?
Very good question. I think number one, we are very excited that at some point we'll be able to vote. That's something I want to put it out here. I quite remember last year, Mr. Atefua was here in Toronto, and we asked this question: how are we gonna make sure that we are prepared to vote? I think the plan was that the national card registration will be coming to Canada at some point. In fact, it was supposed to be, delegation was supposed to be here in April. But because of what is happening, I don't think they are here yet. But I think we are already set up from the standpoint that we have associations, we have churches over here. So we are organized from that standpoint. So to me, when it comes to ensuring that how do we get our, to vote, I think we already have some basic infrastructure here in place that will help us to be, number one, to be able to register Ghanaians. And number two, to be able to send in the information out. Number three, to be able to collaborate and work with the government to make sure that ROPA, works very well. So to me, as far as our communities are concerned, I think we have the organizations in place that is just a matter of, the Electoral Commission or government, bodies to be able to hook into these associations and make sure that this becomes a reality. So we are ready. from our standpoint, from our community standpoint. And we are very excited that this will happen one day.
Very good. I interviewed a gentleman from Canada who has moved to Ghana, and he says, surprisingly, of all the developed countries, Canada is still the country that's looking to attract more immigrants. Is that accurate?
Well, Canada is always looking for immigrants. So that has, if you look at the immigration targets, Canada is always, it's always going up, really, because this is a country that has a vast amount of resources, and it's growing every day. So there will always be a need for immigrants in this country, and sometimes based on what are bringing to the table here in Canada. I've seen a lot of Ghanaian students who come here, and based on their profession, they become permanent residents. In fact, I can say that most of the Ghanaian students who come here, if they want to live here, they don't have any issue at all. They can just, translate whatever they've done into the Canadian system. It's very easy to migrate into that. I've seen that all the time, because some of the skill set people have
now you got
here,
my attention.
The government.
Now you got my attention. I'm a young man. Don't let my looks fool you. I'm a very young man, just finished college. I want to come and live in Canada. How do I do that?
Well, normally, if somebody wants to study in Canada, there are various ways to do it. One is to apply to the universities over here. In fact, I have a friend of mine who is a professor in a university here. In fact, two of them. Every year they go to Ghana. It's a Ghanaian. They are Ghanaian, but he goes with the head of the university to get students to come and study here in Canada. This every year, not only one. I've seen about 5 universities who normally come to Ghana and say, you know what, we want Ghanaian students. We like the students we get from Ghana. They are bright. They are people who, based on the educational system, it's very easy, much easier to hook up into the Canadian system. So that has been happening, really. So he's here. He's here. In fact, Professor is always here doing that every year. He normally lives here in May, and he goes to Ghana, work with universities over there to make sure that we get students from Ghana. So that happens all the time. And if there are specific things people want to know, we can provide that information.
Okay, very good, very good. All right. So, your final thoughts? We want to thank you for making time for us, but what's your final message to Ghanaians watching you right now?
Well, I think my message twofold. For those in Ghana, I want to assure you that if your children are living in Canada, or your grandkids, your nephews, your relatives, I want to assure you that we are well. We are all adapting to the new norm, which is just stay at home and make sure that we wash our hands and all the things that are being said in Ghana as well. On the other hand, too, we also are telling our brothers and sisters in Ghana, we love them. We want them to be free. So they should also try to make sure that they conform to what the government is telling them in Ghana as well. And those of us in diaspora, I also want to say that we are all in it together. If we all can get together, a Ghanaian, whether you're in Australia or whether you're in Belgium, Holland, Canada, United States, wherever you are, let us all try to make sure that we can support this fund that has been set up by the president of Ghana to help people who might have the need for food, also protect people who are even frontline workers in Ghana. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity in Canada here. And we wish everyone well. We know that we will all get through this. It will pass. And I believe we'll learn to love each other more. We'll learn to know that, in fact, life in itself is more than money. It's people who count. And I just want to make sure I convey that message to you. But may God bless everyone.
Mr. Emmanuel Diodu, thank you so much. We hope to be able to count on you again in the future.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the work you are doing. You are bringing all of us together. May God bless you. Okay.
Thank you. Have a great rest of the day, okay?
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kofi Opon Ochi, and I bring you NASA on D-19, a program designed to expose corruption and and indiscipline in our society and advocate for the punishment of these offenders whose activities impede national development. The National Road Safety Commission indicates that Ghana loses $230 million to road accidents, with over 1,600 deaths recorded every year. In 2018, Shride report indicated that Ghana loses 13.5 billion Ghana cedis to corruption. And United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF has also stated that Ghana loses $290 million to poor sanitation alone. This is not right. So make a date with me, and together let's name and shame the offenders of the law. NASA, see something, say something.
Hello and welcome back. Fascinating interview. Now that we've seen, we've shed some light on the Ghanaian community in Toronto. Let's cross the Atlantic to London in the United Kingdom and speak to another Emmanuel, this time with the last name as Kobe. Emmanuel Kobe is the public relations officer for Oman Ghana Bakon. They have a very good idea about putting together, galvanizing the Ghanaian community overseas. And so I had a conversation with him to shed more light into that kind of program. And here is how the conversation proceeded. Welcome to our interview series with Ghanaian leaders and organizations around the world. My name is Jermaine Nkrumah, and this is Diaspora Network Television. Whom do I have a pleasure of speaking with?
All right, so I'm Emmanuel Akwesikobi, and Communications Officer for Oman Ghana. An NGO.
Okay, where are you speaking to us from?
Yes, I'm talking from the United Kingdom.
Oh, okay. All right. We're happy to have you. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. I'm happy you have me.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
So, tell us about your organization. My interest when on one of your platforms, you made mention about something that your organization had been doing for all this time. Let's start by you telling us about your organization. What's the name that you're about?
All right. Well, the name of our organization is Oman Ghana Bakon. Actually, it started as Ghana, but then for registration purpose and other documentation issues, we had to adopt Oman to suit legal requirements and other demands by the Registrar General's Department. So we finally landed on Oman Ghana Bakon. And we have a simple aim, which is to unite all Ghanaians in the diaspora for nation building, to support the development back home. That is the core of everything Oman Ghana Bakon stands for.
Okay, so how do you intend to do that?
Well, we have three areas we're looking at critically. We know government would come, government would go, but then actual development and change starts with the citizens. We've been on social media for a very long time, and all you see is that almost every Ghanaian keeps complaining that there is problem. But we feel that, well, it is time we become part of the solution to also compound the problems we already have. The first area we'll be looking at is corruption. You know, mostly due of the big scandals in the politicians and ruling class. But then we also are forgetting the fact that it's become so endemic that it isn't the politicians. It is because they are always in the news. That is why we hear them. But then we think that to uproot corruption, it needs to start right from the roots, that even the citizens, people do not even know what corruption is. they are unable to fight corruption, and they are unable to stand against it. We think we need serious education to let people know and be able to identify corruption and then fight it anywhere they meet it. Mr. Nkrumah, right from the airport, when you get in Ghana, you might get an immigration officer who would want to take money from you. The taxi driver who would want to take you from the airport to the house would also want to extort money from you. You get home, sometimes even your own relations back home wants to take money from you. So these are all indications that, well, corruption as we perceive it only amongst the politicians isn't so. But then within the citizenry, it is something going on, but then people are unable to identify it. We on My Ghana Baku think that mass education, and so as we talk now, we are developing materials for the print media, the digital media, and then also for our basic school, senior high schools, where we think we need to start the campaign for people to be able to identify corruption and then stand against it, so that gradually, we know it isn't going to be a one-day thing. It is going to progress from one stage, but then we hope that we would achieve something with that. Then secondly, we think Ghana's major resource is our human resource. We need to develop human resource. In day out, we hear news of our brothers trying to use the Mediterranean Sea to Europe in a bid to see greener pastures, hoping that the grass is much greener back here in Europe. But then we think that we need to give them an alternative back home. And My Ghana Back Home intends that we are able to institutional apprenticeship schemes where people who fall out of education or who for other reasons can learn trade. You know, development is driven by tradesmen. But then when you look at our traditional education, we are basically producing people for the service sector. But then as we see, any country that desires development needs technocrats, needs people with skills to help push development. And we believe with apprenticeship schemes on board, and then
yeah, okay. As I listen to you, you are going through a lot of issues in Ghana that you and I, and indeed a lot of people agree with. And we will get to that point. But before we do that, I want to specifically focus on your organization. In fact, your mission of uniting all Ghanaians abroad is a very, very, very laudable one, which is also shared by Diaspora Network Television, DNT. My question is, from a strategic standpoint, how do we attain that unity before we get to the issues that you are enumerating?
All right. Thank you very much. Well, that has been the challenge, you know, and it is because people have had bad previous experiences with organizations that came up. And so, you know, when you talk to they tend to kind of become a bit skeptical about coming in or joining. You know, this whole organization started with one man called Mr. Alex Apia. He happens to be our chairman, and then talked to us. By then, I was still back in Germany, and just as you said, when I saw that the dream was laudable, the idea of uniting Ghanaians in the diaspora was so loud that I just decided to join them, and from there I joined them until finally I also moved into the UK, and it is very laudable. You know, the day of independence, our first president echoed it, that we need total unity for development, strength in unity. And you know, our being as a country has been the divide, you know, the religious divide, the tribal divide, and the political. We are to My Ghana Back Home. It is about time we leave all those aside, because Mr. The issue is, when you live, you don't travel on a party passport. You travel on a tribal passport. You travel on a Ghanaian passport. That means no matter our difference, the bottom line is we are all Ghanaians. and good will unite. I read a report, and last year alone, Ghanaians in the diaspora remitted close to $5 billion in remittances back home. So imagine that this financial force and then the pool of knowledge. People have acquired so much experience, so much knowledge, so much skills and wisdom from the Western side. We should pool such a resource together as diasporans. We come together. Definitely, that change we desire back home is something we can effect. But the problem is,
okay, so
we
I hear
lack
you.
the unity.
I hear you about, you see, if I come across as posing your ideas, I want you to know that that is very far from the truth. I share everything you're saying. But let's take remittances, for example. Yes, our calculations has it that in 2019, Ghanaians in the diaspora remitted $4.6 billion. All right.
Yeah.
Now,
yes,
the $4.6 billion include the maybe 200 pounds or euros that from UK you sent to your mother to buy medication or buy food to eat. And you have to understand that the very many people who are all over the world, Ghanaians, they send money for diverse needs that sometimes tend to be very immediate. And so,
yes.
how do I tell Emmanuel that, wait, don't send that money to your mother yet, wait until we put it all together so it'll be powerful? How do I achieve that?
Far from that, Mr. Nkrumah. Well, obviously, we here would have to support people back home, but then Ghana Baku, for instance, have something we call the One Ghana. And when we say the One Ghana project, it simply means One Ghana project, and that is we appealing to everyone Ghanaian, both home and abroad, to contribute. For instance, if you are in the United States, you contribute a minimum of a unit currency of the United States, which is $1. If you are in the UK, you contribute a unit currency of the pound, which is £1, and then those back home contribute £1 per month. You know, that is the minimum. We tag that. We chose $1, £1, £1 because it is money that anyone can easily part with. But then, in that we have about 5 million Ghanaians coming on board. That means per month we are generating minimum of $5 million. Mr. Nkrumah, what can't we start in Ghana? Research funds. There are a lot of things
I agree with you.
we can do.
I agree. So let me ask you this then. Are you in the Diaspora Affairs Office presidency?
Yes, we were in Ghana last October, and when we got there, we had a chance to meet with Mr. who is the director in charge of Diaspora Affairs, and he welcomed the idea. He said it's a brilliant one, but then he's hoping that it doesn't become an idea wonder. It's something that needs to be carried on. We visited
He
the
said
former
what?
president, Ajikum Kufuor. He said it is very, very likely that we will be coming up with a dream and that we should try to push hard. And he also mentioned that there are other opportunities, and we should try also to get in touch with them so that we can all put our forces to then try to achieve something for the country. We visited former President Ajikum Kufuor, former President Jerry Rawlings, and they all welcomed the idea. Look, that can definitely affect a change in the country, and it needs and must start now. But with that unity, we can't achieve this because if at the end of the day we get myself and only Mr. Nkrumah contributing £1, that means just £2, and we can't achieve anything with that. But then when we get the unity and then there is such number, definitely we are able to generate enough resource in terms of finance, and then in terms of the knowledge pool, people with diverse experiences, diverse knowledge, diverse technical prowess would all come on board, and with it, we can make a difference. For instance, we want to point to government or politicians that look, you are being, or for instance, you are doing it right. We wouldn't want to go just pointing out to them, but then we do something to them that look, you built a 6 classroom block and then you gave us this amount. We have also built a similar block, perhaps with even facilities, and it is costing us this less. When that difference is there, it will be there for Ghanaians to just compare and then make the contrast that, yeah, indeed, there's something wrong with it. But you just can't say that people are corrupt without giving hardcore evidences to let people that, yes, indeed, there is something wrong. Look at how our country plan is being done. People are allowed building houses. And you talked about people making home first reasons. One major reason people to build houses back home. Now we have what we call the smart city. That is in the for my Ghana back home, and that is for some time. For some time, when we get a huge number, we'll have that scheme where we will an area for development, and then we make sure that members who are interested, who wants to build back home, we come together. That instead of buying a plot separately and then trying to develop something on your own, we try to develop something like a small village which will serve as a model city for people.
I get you. Let me tell me about your membership. How organizational structure?
Well, the membership is that we want to reach out to every Ghanaian anywhere on the globe. So it started us initially in the UK, and we went to Ghana to also get sure that because everything we'll be doing here would have to be home. So we needed people back home also to support the dream. So we had also in the country. US, we have a few membership there. We were about starting the inauguration in Italy, but then the pandemic came in, and then we had to suspend that. We have membership in France. It is something we're trying to broadcast all over the world so that people everywhere who means well for Ghana, who have Ghana at heart, would all come on board. It's unfortunate that it has been difficult because people tend to be skeptical. They tend to think it might all be the same story, that you start something and then it hit rocks and people go back to sleep. But we think we are so determined that we know there are challenges. We are not naive, but then we hope that with time and then with needed effort, we would obviously get the numbers we want. We want to reach out to every Ghanaian anywhere. And as I said, this is a clarion for everyone. As you have Ghana at heart, when you hear us calling, we might not have members where you may be, but you could be the start point.
Okay, let me do this. If I live in Sydney, Australia, or if I live in Toronto, Canada, and I have the same ideas as you do, and I also form an organization with a particular group, my mission is the same as your mission. And when you get to find out about me, how do you relate with me? How do you put it all together?
Yes, that is also a bit of a challenge, but every challenge also comes as an opportunity. What we intend doing is that there are various groups, we coordinate with them, each of them have programs. What we planning is that we bring groups together. For instance, when we were doing the inauguration in the UK, we got the Ghana Union here, the tribal groups around. We invited them all and we brainstormed. We tried to find common front ideas to push, and it was successful. For instance, there is one group in the United States who reached out to us, and we said we could partner. We are all develop. We try to share ideas. We try to, but then the issue is we need a common front. Politicians always are feared of numbers. Where there is numbers, that is where you get their interest. But then when you go on a divided front, it is always problem to get their attention. You know, we get to a place where we could be influential, we could influence policies and decision making, and would reside only in numbers, not on political religious basis, but purely every diaspora coming on board and making sure that, look, we are contributing to the development and we should have a stake in what goes on in the country, and that will reside in numbers. So,
would you describe Oman Ghana Bako as A, an umbrella organization, or B, a coalition?
It's a coalition, Mr. Nkrumah. Ghana Bako cannot be umbrella organization. It is a coalition. We want to collaborate with every other group or every other Ghanaian. You know, I've always said it. This party or that group thinks that they want development for the country. Why must it be competition and not collaboration if the end result is achieve development for the country? Ghana Bako believes so much in collaboration that let us bring the ideas together. You know, there is that old adage that the little drops water makes the mighty ocean. It is good we put that knowledge together. We will get a huge bank of knowledge to tap from, huge bank of resource to depend on or to fall on for development, for anything we want to achieve. But then when there is that separation, there is always problem. You can start, but then you are always unable to push it to the end. It is about time we leave our differences and find a common front and then push Ghana forward.
Okay, I agree with you. Now, how long have you been around?
Well, for the 2 years, Ghana Bako has been in existence, but then for the first year, it all underground.
You say how many years?
For 2 years, we've been in existence, but then for the year, it was all underground. You know, that was when we were trying to put the documents and other legal issues together. For instance, we had to attain charity status here in the UK from the Charities Commission, and then also to get registered as a non-governmental organization, trying to get a legal team and a management team all on board, so that, you know, people have had bitterness with their monies going down the drain. They had contributed for development, but then it didn't happen. We're talking of corruption, and we need to lead by example. So what we intend doing is that every penny that would come to the organization mounted for, and we try something as transparent as possible. So for instance, when you visit our website, we have somewhere where we talk of finances, and that is where everything we do. For instance, opening a bank account in Ghana, what we did was that we do not have specific signatories to the account, that no single individual or group of individuals could go to the bank and then draw money. What we did is that any money that would come out of that account will be raised against an invoice. For instance, Oman Ghana Bako wants to develop boreholes for a village that lacks water. The contractor that would be hired would have to raise an invoice and then would be paid direct from the bank with that invoice. So you are able to enhance that factor where individuals have the opportunity to access those funds, and before you money is on the drain or find its way into private pockets. This time we want to eliminate, and we want to make sure that every penny that is being contributed is used so that we full benefit of every community, because it's not easy to raise money here. People stress themselves, people have to work their ass off to generate even a penny. So be sure that every amount that is given to Oman account is well accounted for and well used, and that is where we are able to maximize development.
Okay, all right. Now, you did mention earlier that you've been you've had challenges getting other organizations to sign on or to collaborate with you. What are you doing to address those challenges?
Well, that is what we had wanted to start off, but then because of this pandemic, we had to cope with that. We're reaching out to various organizations, with circulating letters around, letting them know first about Oman Ghana Bakon, and then an invitation for us to all come together. Then we could go on with our various activities, but then the end result is that we should all also be aiming at pushing a development agenda for the country. For instance, Ghana Union here in the UK specifically cares about the welfare of Ghanaians in the diaspora. When people are in times of need, they go to their aid. That is very laudable. We need to assist people in times of need. But then, we're also talking to them now to also consider the development back home. Then look, when Ghana is developed, when Ghana is well structured, the system, we wouldn't have the situation where people will always be drifting away and come to face the similar challenges we are facing here. But then there will be opportunities back home, and people would feel that they can meet their reasonable aspirations back home. And that is what people are about. So it's about circulation. And aside this, we also do have a Facebook Live video, which goes off every Sunday at 8 p.m. GMT. And during those times, we try to talk to Ghanaian organizations around. If they hear about us, to reach out. We try to reach out, but then if you also hear about us and we haven't reached out, let us know. Because these donor organizations and grant-giving organizations are becoming fed up with our governments. They've been supporting it for quite a long time, but then they are not getting the end result.
If I have an organization, let's say in Germany or in France or in Italy, and I shared your same ideas, right? And I've been around for 5 years before you came along with the same ideas. How can you convince me that while I was doing the same thing, you came in and started doing something similar, but now I have to collaborate with you? What I'm trying to get you to see that, look, I think like you, there is a lot of difficulty trying to get people to work together. I cannot overemphasize how much I agree with your approach. You see what I'm saying? But the thing is, we have such diverse interests. Everybody's doing their own. In UK, for example, I'm sure in one area you see about 20 Ghanaian churches. Everybody's doing their little thing. The same people who go to those 20 Ghanaian churches, if they agreed together and came to one church, it would be much bigger and more respected within the community. But for whatever reason, everybody wants to do their own thing. And quite frankly, I am not faulting you for your mission and everything. What I'm trying to figure is, what would it take for us to all put it together in a synergetic way? You get my frustration.
Exactly, Mr. Nkrumah. The problem has, as you are right, about individual differences and individual interest. People, if not for selfish or peculiar, I do not see why, if the end result is always about the development of the country, we can team up. So it is about time we put our individual interests aside and then focus much on the development of the country. When there are level playing grounds where everything is working smoothly, I mean, we can all develop along. But then when there is that division and still nothing, you become a ocean and nothing happens. We need that number. We need to put our differences aside. Fine. You have been in existence for a number of years. What did it make to work with others? I like so much the American history. After their Civil War, they decided to come together. And then America has been very strong ever since. You talk of China is now a country to reckon with because they came together. Why can't we come together as Ghanaians? It is possible. It is doable. We need to simply put our difference, our tribal difference, religious differences together, and then our personal interest aside. Focus on the development of the country. Once there is development, we would all develop along.
I hear you, and I agree with you more. And I think, you know what? If you become the person who has the idea that was presented that enabled us to come together, I think you will become a very famous person, because I haven't figured it out. And in as much as you have great ideas, I have great ideas, somebody has, for whatever reason, we haven't put it together. So I guess it'll continue to be a challenge. So what does the future hold for you and your organization?
Well, the future, you know, it is bright. You know, there is always challenges, as I say, but then, you know, you're able to think, you're able to devise means when there are challenges, and then turn those challenges into opportunities. There is that individual difference, and that is what we need to work at. We're trying to put the individual interests aside and make sure, look, it is about time we do away with that and then come together. It hasn't been easy. Now we're targeting the donor agencies and other groups that could support us, push our dreams, not specifically to take money from them also, but then we approaching them jets and with policies we would want them to support and push. If they see it as sustainable, then they come on board and then push it for us. That is one thing we are doing. You know, Ghanaians are sometimes skeptical. Let's see how, if it goes well, then we come into support. That has always been it. So to start some back and push it, is get to know, draw it home, let them know that citizens can start something on our own and make sure it's done well. When people see us acting, I believe it might be a momentum, but then gradually we would get individuals coming on board one after the other, and hopefully, and you know what Oman Ghana Bakun is doing, we might not be the end benefactors. We for instance, when we look at our motto, we say that we're trying to save the next generation. So we may face off, but then we want to make sure that the time we face off this earth, at least we prepare the grounds for the next generation not to face similar problems and just we face now. And that's what we're doing.
Okay.
Everything we're doing now is for the immediate and then the future.
Okay. What can DMT do to help? Because it seems like we share similar objectives, but we have the platform that we've created. All Ghanaians all over the world, wherever you are, it's a multi-tip where satellite, terrestrial, free-to-air television station. We're visible in about 24 sub-Saharan African countries. We have about 30 global correspondents around the world. So we have a very far reach. What do we do to help?
Mr. Nkrumah, I must first be thanked in the first place. It's so wonderful. There are a lot of groups out there. You would even approach them, but they give you the opportunity. You said you saw an information platform and it triggered your interest to reach out to us. That is so fantastic. That is so marvelous. It is just simple that you have a country at heart. What TN can do for us is to give us your platform, possibly, to talk about some of our projects, to push some of our policies, to educate the populace, you know, because for instance, am I gonna about dreams of having a television network, if possible, purposefully for documentaries about the country or choose to cause, change does not come on a silver platter. It needs concerted effort. People need to be kept reminded that this needs to be done. Like the Machiavellians say, take something which is a lie, keep repeating it, and people accept it as the truth. This time want to come with positive ideas, positive aspirations, and we want to keep hammering it into the minds of people. And gradually, we believe that we'll be able to attain that change and development we desire. We desire so much support of DTN with your outreach. We believe that if you give us a platform, we are able to reach out to a huge number of Ghanaians and even other Africans in the diaspora. And with that, people would quickly get to hear of Omai Ghana Bakon. Come on, but as we keep saying, a policy document, but it is a living document because we believe that there are still individuals out there who have got better ideas, better policies, which could fine-tune and refine what we have already. And if we are able to those people and they all come on board, that is where we can make that bigger difference we desire for Ghana.
Okay.
We welcome everybody to join Omai Ghana back home.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we'll maintain the contact. If there is anything that DNT can do to help, please don't be a stranger. All right?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Have a
posterity would definitely remember you, sir, because this is so sick. You don't get people doing it. Once you're doing it, it is very obvious at that. But Omai Ghana Bakon is just a name. It isn't for any. It is for every Ghanaian. So you, Mr. Nkrumah, is Omai Ghana Bakon now. Omai Ghana Bakon is yours, and drive it home as though it is your own organization. That is the philosophy we driving now. That Ghana Bakon is not for a individual or somebody out there who started it. It is for every well-meaning Ghanaian who wants development for the country. So when you become a member or when you hear of it, take it as your own and then push it as though it is your own life you are fighting for. Thank you very much, Mr. Nkrumah, for having me. It's been wonderful.
Have a great rest of the day, okay?
I want to thank you for watching. This has been a pretty lengthy edition of Diaspora Weekly. Coming up Saturday, we'll have an amazing interview with the Iron Lady, Her Excellency Dr. Arikana Chiombori-Kwao, former AU ambassador to the United States. She has an amazing organization starting up to galvanize the African diaspora, and we'll have some deep discussions with her, and I entreat you to make a date with me Saturday at 9 o'clock. And for now, I thank you for watching. This has been Diaspora Weekly, and my name is Jermaine. Thanks again, and we'll be right back with some other information from our follow-up programs. Stay tuned.